This is Bob Fitrakis bringing you the other side of the news.
Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh, Lord, yeah.
Yes, we're streaming live on the Free Press Network and at WGRN.org. Also on the radio, WGRN LPFM 94.1 and WCRS LPFM 92.7, Mr. Dougan.
Oh, hello there, Bob.
And 98.3.
Oh, don't forget
98.3.
I like the 94.1, but the 98.3 is very nice too. I also brought a Christmas present that I got. It's superheroes, jelly beans. Bob's been eating them, but that's okay. That's all right by
They're gourmet.
me. They're yes,
but
for gourmands only.
But I'm not an oligarch.
You're not an oligarch? You
Even
could
though
be.
I eat the gourmet jelly bean in the tradition of Ronald Reagan.
That's right. And if you wanted to be an oligarch, you could be. In the meantime, the supreme American oligarch is being impeached. And since we didn't really delve much into it on any of the previous shows, maybe it's time that we do. Are we going in the right direction with this impeachment, Dr. Bob?
Well, you know, the amazing thing to me is he admits he does impeachable offenses right on TV in front of everyone, and he simply asserts there's no evidence. It's like, hey, Chinese, why don't you get involved and do some spying? He says it in front of 1 billion people, and then he says, there's not a shred of evidence.
And his followers.
You thought you saw me on TV soliciting Marxist-Leninist fascist capitalists from China, me telling them, which is what I said, but
it was fake news.
Yeah, it's fake news
Right.
when you actually see the reality.
Yeah.
So, this came out of a whistleblower, and he wants you to ignore it.
Right.
So a member of the, military-industrial complex doing his job says, look, this guy's cutting private deals and holding up money. Mm-hmm. So it's fact-based.
And
but
threatening
Trump,
our national security.
Yeah, but Trump realizes that, we have a long history of anti-intellectualism and, know-nothingism and whatever we say. This is the United States. It's a common denominator of democracy. It's like the old adage on body parts, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, it's the rule of the common man, and what if the common man steps up to rule? Right?
And again, Mr. Trump's not a common man, but he knows how to appeal to them.
Yes.
Particularly
they
if
think
you don't
he is.
read
they
nothing.
think he's one of them.
You don't go thinking, you don't go reading, and you simply make up your facts as you go along. And you claim that everyone's biased against you, and there's a plot. So,
right, and that they've been trying to get rid of him since day one. And it's true somewhere. And why? Because of the emoluments clause that we discussed back then as well. From day one, he was breaking the emoluments clause with his hotel in Washington, D.C., for starters.
Absolutely. And again, it wasn't a high crime because he wasn't president. But this man is the leading ass-kissing money launderer for the Russian mob.
Right.
This man spent his life going bankrupt till he learned how to launder money for the Russian mafia. So he's in the pocket. The only debate should be, is he in Putin's back pocket, in the ass pocket, or in the vest pocket? That should be the debate. I
kind of think Putin's in Trump's back pocket, but sorry, I digress. But here's what, because we're on the path to impeachment, so it's cleared the House right now as of our recording for this show, aired on 5:30 on Fridays. It has not been sent to the Senate. So, and I think that Ms. Pelosi is playing a waiting game, and I think that's a good thing to try to at least break through the Senate for some potential rule changes and allow
Sure,
witnesses.
because if they would have sent it,
if it's to be a trial.
who knows? Mitch McConnell's idea of a trial
Yes.
would have been, can we knock this off in 3 hours? It could have already been over.
Yeah. Didn't
I
you
mean,
love the way
Mitch-
the House guys keep saying this is too quick, and the Senate, they're saying, no, it can't be quick enough. But anyway.
No, it should be quicker.
Right.
Now, Mitch McConnell will go down as one of the least courageous, most corrupt, and again, a person that absolutely has betrayed his oath of office. It's hard
I agree.
to find. I mean, he's got
And many of
that
us
kind of reek smell of the old Dixiecrats about him.
And
Even
to
though he's
sit
in the
and say he's
Republican
already
Party.
made up his mind, as little Lindsay did too, and this is supposed to be a trial, that's absurd. He would have been dismissed from this
But
jury.
Lindsay's a little more interesting because he's got this S&M thing going
I
on
didn't
with
know.
Donald Trump.
Well, you might know more about that.
Well,
than
I mean,
do.
everyone in the world who looks at their relations knows that it's S&M. Leslie is the B word, and Donald's the Mac Daddy,
Yeah.
and whatever.
I could get really
Donald
gross and describe the
says.
human centipede from Putin and on down the line, but we're not going to go there.
Yeah, maybe we should resurrect
But
that movie.
here's my question. Okay, so Nancy is holding up.
But why does Lindsay keep saying, more, please?
Nancy is holding up the sending over the articles. But I kind of feel like maybe she should wait until the court case is clear on the subpoenas, or would that take way too long?
Well, it depends, it's
Obviously.
the courts, right? If she's got a chance to get a decision, I think a lot of this stuff would go better if the courts said, yes, you can't obstruct everything. You have to turn over evidence. And the key thing is Trump should want the evidence turned over because he's claiming he did
He's
nothing
innocent. Right.
wrong.
Right.
He's the only man in the history of Earth that's ever never done anything wrong and has done everything perfect.
Right. The phone
All his
call was
calls are
perfect.
perfect. All his conversations are perfect. Everything.
Every marriage was perfect.
Oh yeah.
Children are perfect.
And when he was attacking female
Especially
genitalia,
Eric.
that was perfect.
Yeah, he did it perfectly.
But Christianity Today, founded by a man named Billy Graham,
Yes.
came
Christianity.
out
okay.
and with an editorial
As in the modern evangelicals.
said that, of course, that Trump should resign.
Wow.
And again, Billy Graham's
This is
son,
the younger Billy.
Yeah, Franklin Graham.
You say the older one's dead, but he could
One of the
could have been a miracle.
sleaziest, most opportunistic, unchristlike figures on this earth. Franklin Graham, who just loves. He's like, look, look. He's pro-rape. He likes a president that sexually assaults women in the name of Jesus. The wonderful Franklin Graham, in the most holy name of Jesus, backs a sexual assaulter, a blasphemer.
And he says that Trump should resign?
No, he says.
I thought you said he did. I thought this was
his
new news. I
Christianity
hadn't heard
Today wrote an editorial saying he should
the
resign.
yes,
and
the
Franklin
magazine.
Graham comes out and defends Trump.
Ah, that's right.
And I'm trying to think, how does any born-again Christian essentially defend a president that's a chronic and well-known liar, has admitted on tape that he sexually assaults women, who's a money launderer, a thief of the highest order, corrupt, and chronically lies?
I don't know when this was filmed, but I just saw it either today or yesterday where someone asked Trump if he ever asked God for forgiveness. And he said he didn't need to because he was always trying to do the right thing to correct any mistakes he might have made.
Well, sure, and
not that he
like
did.
the Antichrist.
But he doesn't ask for forgiveness.
Like the Antichrist,
I love it.
he's perfect and never done anything wrong. So again, that just reveals to me.
And who
to
is
my
the
born-again
Antichrist?
Donald Trump.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to get that.
Because he's never done
for
anything
sure.
wrong, and he claims to be a man of peace. And he gets others like Franklin Graham, who says, well, my dad said he voted for Donald Trump. The only time we ever heard of Billy Graham voting is he said he voted Democrat. So, Franklin Graham's going to use essentially the bones of his father's legacy, to essentially protect and shield a man that assaults women, admits to it, is caught on tape, and one of the greatest pathological liars the U.S. has ever known.
All right, so you just mentioned that he had voted Democratic, this Graham fellow?
Well, Billy Graham admitted that he had voted Democratic.
And you yourself have voted Democratic.
In the last
And
primary,
you've
I
been with the
voted
Green
for
Party.
my good friend Dennis
And now
Kucinich.
you're back Democratic at this point?
Well, in Ohio,
Kind of like
if
Mike
you
Bloomfield or Bloomberg, or sorry.
yeah, I wish I had his money.
Bloomfield was a
I'd
blues.
have my own party.
Yes.
Be the Bob party.
Well, you can.
Now,
Yeah.
all Bob all the time.
All Bob. I like
With some
that.
Dougan as the
I like
sidekick.
that. The Bob Party. We're going to start it. That's a great idea. The Bob Party. So it's a palindrome
And instead
and
of
it's
a
a party.
chairman, we'd have a Barbara Ann.
But so nonetheless, so speaking of political parties, this brings up where I'd like to go next, which is to discuss the democratic process of choosing a candidate to oppose President Trump, man or woman.
Like Elizabeth Warren?
There's a man I'd like to talk about, Mr. Bernie Sanders, who seems to be the most popular, particularly amongst the left in the Democratic Party.
You know, with massive, massive crowds
Yes.
swarming to
A
him.
very
last
popular guy. I
few
love
days.
Bernie. I love him. But wasn't he cheated before? Or at least some have said he was cheated in the last campaign, in the last
Well,
primaries
the exit polls
by the
indicate,
Democratic National Committee. Is this true or not? Because
Well,
I've heard
in all
varying stories.
probability, you know, the Democratic Party, the regulars, the DNC, took action to make sure he wasn't their candidate. Right? It was an assumption that it was Hillary Clinton's turn. So there were problems at some of the caucuses. Right? You didn't really spell out. There was one where the proper papers weren't filed. You know, a lot of the Sanders people were new
and they
to
didn't
caucuses.
file the proper papers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, you'd think the party would be there to be neutral and make sure everyone filed papers.
Really? Isn't that up to the candidate's campaign?
Well, you would think that the party would be neutral and you could get simple information like, how does your caucus work? Right, in the name of transparency, as opposed to not telling people how the caucus work. And the regulars, who were on Clinton's side, she had the advantage of having people who had been around politics, were doing much better than the newbies
Right.
when it came in.
Right.
So you had that
But
problem.
that's not necessarily incumbent on the Democratic National Committee, is it?
Well, they claim they were being neutral and fair.
Yes.
There's also a report that they may have gotten a hold of the information used in the electronic input databases,
Aha.
the famed VAN information, and they may have been using that
Okay.
to promote Clinton's campaign,
Right.
as opposed and giving bad information in some cases.
And did they or did they not rig the California primary?
Well, it's a question: did they rig it, or did people sign up for the wrong, the wrong category? You could sign up as an independent and vote in the Democratic primary. Those are the rules of the Democratic Party in their primaries in California. But some people who signed up claim they tried to sign up as an independent to vote in the Democratic primary, but instead they were put in the American Independence Party, which is a fascist party started by the racist
right.
George Wallace. I'm here, I'm an independent. Yeah,
American
yeah. You see the
Independent
guys with the
Party.
swastika tattoos.
Right.
Yeah, they're caucusing over there.
So did this is this has been bouncing around for a while now. Did the Democratic National Committee rig the primary in California through electronic means or otherwise? And is there proof?
Well, there's
I'd like to know.
There's proof that people were registered in the wrong party. There's proof that people who thought they had registered found that information did not get into the proper state and party computers.
So there is evidence
Yeah, the question, and almost all of it goes against Sanders and all of it favors Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
There's the mass purgings of hundreds of thousands of voter registrations in Brooklyn, which was a Sanders stronghold. That's his hometown.
Yeah, no kidding. Right.
Like-
Exactly.
And again,
Why not? Why not
The,
cheat him on his own
clerk-
turf?
the clerk who did the mass purges, which she claims were an accident, had a house for sale, couldn't sell it, and then she put it up back on the market for double the price, and it was bought quickly by a major donor, the Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
So it kind of looks like, how do you prove it? Looks like a payoff. Looks like a mass purging that would hurt Bernie in New York.
Right. Well, while we discuss that, let's also remind people you're listening to the other side of the news, starring Dr. Bob Fitrakis and yours truly, Dan Dougan, streaming to you from the Indy-Media studios of the Free Press Network here on YouTube, but also available online at WGRN.org. Plus, listen to us on Columbus, Ohio's 2 volunteer-run low-power FM radio stations. Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on WGRN 94.1 The Green Renaissance, and Mondays 5:30 p.m. on WCRS 92.7 and 98.3.
There'll be a quiz on that. 94.1,
And we're
92.7,
WGRN.org.
98.3,
Right, so there you go.
and streaming live.
In the
on
meantime,
Free
so
Press
all right, so
Network.
wait a second now. Let's just get this straight. So he probably got cheated in California. He definitely got cheated in his own
Yeah.
home turf in Brooklyn, right?
And,
Then why is he continuing to run in the Democratic Party?
Because there's only 2 parties in the U.S. There's the
Well, you just said
right-wing
yourself there's the
corporatists.
independent
Well, there's
American.
unaffiliated. Yeah,
There are lots of other
well,
parties.
there's a
The
few
Green
minor
Party.
parties.
Yes,
Well, the
I'm
Green
just
Party
saying.
isn't on the ballot
Right,
anymore in Ohio.
Right. Okay. Well,
The 2 major parties make it very difficult
yes,
for
but
the third parties to emerge.
and Bernie's even actually a socialist.
A democratic socialist.
Yes, a democratic socialist. So why don't we just start a democratic socialist party? If the Democratic Party is such a bunch of cheating, lying bastards, why do we all continue to participate in their little party?
Well, they tried from 1900 to 1956
right.
to form a Democratic Party in the U.S., and
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't do it because when push comes to shove, people tend to vote for the
You
lesser
mean a truly
evil.
Democratic party?
Yeah, small d, Democratic Party
Right. Okay.
that would give power to the people. But instead, when push comes to shove, people don't tend to vote their hopes and aspirations.
Go on.
They vote their fears. And like if they're not going to vote for a Jill Stein as a Green when they fear Donald Trump. They're going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Or
Well, I mean, it's the old
dare
line,
we say
right?
Joe Biden,
Right.
but yeah, right.
You're going to vote for the Clinton who you really, 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 really dislike, so that Trump who you really, 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 really dislike doesn't
Yes.
win.
I guess that's the theory. But I just,
The
you know,
lesser
I like
evilism.
Bernie, but, if he's been cheated before by the Democratic National Committee,
Well, they
is
don't-
there not a chance it happens again?
Well, I don't think they consider it cheating. They're like, look, Bernie's not a Democrat. What do we? I think there's an what do we
Right.
really
Well,
owe him? He's an independent,
okay, yeah.
right? So it comes time. There's only 2 parties, so he's out there knocking on the door. Why should we accommodate them?
Well,
You know, there's these Democratic Party regulars, right? I mean, they were mad at Obama because it was Hillary's turn, right?
Yeah,
It's-
well, that's true.
Republicans do the same thing,
how dare he?
right? We're going to run
Yeah.
Mitt Romney because it's his turn. We're going to run John McCain because it's his turn, right? So you're supposed to wait.
I'm still trying to
be
figure out
patient.
how the American politic works that Hillary Clinton didn't enter into this presidential candidacy. But obviously she's over the hill.
Well, she was the second least popular candidate to run
Yes,
in the
right.
modern era
Why
of
should
polling,
that stop
right?
her? Yes.
Right, and polling, which really comes about after World War II, right? Neither her or Trump had over a 50% favorable rating as they were running. Generally, the two major parties like to run people who have at least a majority of the population
Right.
thinking of them, not
favorably.
saying they're going to vote for them,
Right.
but thinking about them in a favorable way.
Okay. Where is Biden at this point in time with this election?
Biden's guy.
Still likable enough in spite of all the Ukraine
old
mudslinging.
Joe, right?
And you know Rudy's still over there trying to dig up some more evidence.
But,
You do know that, right? Rudy Giuliani is roaming around.
I thought he was over there looking for some big checks.
He's looking for big checks, but he's looking for evidence that Biden is corrupt, et cetera, and that will ruin Joe's campaign. But it doesn't seem to have derailed Joe.
Well, what should derail Joe is that weird video from
Facts.
2017. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. The one where he claimed kids like to sit on his lap there at the pool and watch his hair rise up in the water and go back down.
Well, it was just his hair.
He was babbling about roaches.
Okay. So I'm not sure what you're saying there, Bob. But anyway,
Well-
I'm not sure what Joe Biden was saying
Well,
either.
a few people who saw the video were wondering whether Joe Biden was hitting on all cylinders still.
Yes, right. I have heard that before, too. I hope Bernie is. Personally, I'll say it again. I think it's time for a woman to be in the White House. We're not going to get Hillary.
Bernie's
That's
firing
okay
on
by
all
me.
cylinders, even though a few might be sputtering.
I don't see what's wrong with Elizabeth Warren or any combination of her and Bernie.
Yeah, she may be the compromise campaign.
Or maybe
Bernie
Bernie
has said
wins
she
and he
could
says,
live
as a
with
gentleman, I'm
Warren.
going to give the candidacy to Elizabeth Warren.
I don't
As a
see
progressive guy who wants to see, really, that's not going to happen? Oh, come
that. No,
on.
but what I would think is
Gee.
that
You're
the party at
shooting
a
down my
certain
idea.
point. What should be clear is that Bernie draws the largest,
Right.
campaign rally supporters. He's got the largest amount of people following him. If you cut him off, which is what they did with Hillary Clinton, people will stay home and Donald Trump will win.
Mm-hmm.
They have to come up with a solution, with a compromise that cuts the progressive left wing
Yeah.
into the platform and into the party. If that means running Elizabeth Warren or running her as vice president, it needs to be done. Essentially, the other candidates, old Joe isn't going to drag enough people out, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
He's a popular
good
guy.
old Joe there.
Black folks love him.
Well, black
know
folks
that.
say they will vote for him
Yeah.
because he worked really
Yeah,
well
that's a-
with the white racist Dixiecrats. So
Yeah.
that's why if I was black, I would love him. It's like he knew how to deal with Strom Thurmond. They get together and tell a few.
Play golf.
Strom would, say a few racial jokes.
Yeah. Play
Old
golf.
Joe would, say, "Well, look at the hair on my arm.
Play
Why don't you
golf.
go up and down."
All right, then. Well, I think we've beaten that dead horse.
Well, yeah, clubs
Is there-
with no
we-
black caddies and
we-
no black members. Bam to lamb.
All right, then. That's par for the course. We have a little bit of time left. Why don't we just discuss the year in review? To some extent, things are getting a lot worse on the environmental front. And coincidentally, the person of the year was Greta
Thunberg.
Thunberg. And good for her. And she's trying to raise the clarion call that we're in big trouble, folks.
And
Big
you
trouble.
got Trump trying to bully her on Twitter.
Uh-huh. But are there other events from this past year
Little
that stands
brat,
out?
I'd like to give her a whacking on Twitter.
Well, yeah, and he did. Matter of fact, his Twitter feed has gone up by ridiculous amounts, like 500 tweets in just a and who's doing all this tweeting for him? Because he's just sitting there barking.
Recently
But anyway.
a lot of the stuff has been spelled right, so it's not him.
But were there any other events, other than, of course, the impeachment and the discussions in environment, that you'd like to discuss from this past year, Robert? The Buckeyes? Your Detroit Tigers? Michigan? Uh-oh.
I mean,
were there
I
any-
went to the Moritz College of Law.
Mhm.
I am a alumni of the Ohio State University.
Well, there you go. You're a true Buckeye. You give the Buckeyes much of a chance
Well,
against Clemson and then LSU.
Here's my problem. I would favor them if their quarterback, wasn't wearing a big knee brace the
no
last
kidding.
time I saw him.
It could be tricky.
Yeah, no,
Could be tricky.
he's only 80-85%. He's got to be at 100%
But once
if
again,
they're going to win.
on the year, are there any other events of the past year that you might? Hey, it's the end of the decade. You could even go back there.
It's the end of the decade as we know it.
That's right, exactly.
But
and I feel fine.
again, the complete kind of dominance in Ohio of the Republican Party, I'd like to see that vanish. There were some positive things, the Larry Householder, the Speaker of the House, saying we ought to consider doing away with the death penalty.
There you go. That is a
That's
step
a
in the right
positive
direction.
one.
Yeah, in some
And
rather
now that,
dark political
white,
times.
a lot of white suburban and rural people doing crack and heroin and fentanyl, we've become much more tolerant about locking people up who are addicted to drugs. So
Right.
we're moving
Yes, there's
in
a
that
movement
direction.
to let some people free who are just facing. Yes.
Yeah, that are in there for drug possession.
Right.
So that's positive in the new year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. And the Columbus Free Press in this coming year
Yes.
will be turning how old, Bob?
50. It's
How's that
50th
possible?
anniversary. Well, it's possible because a few people have made sacrifices to keep the paper alive. Right, we're an all volunteer.
Like yourself and your wife, Suzanne.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would. But again,
And
there's
many
been
people over many
Tim
years.
Chavez, our board members, and people like Train that have donated services to us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so people like yourself that have emceed, and over the years when we were only 35 years old, gave us your bar free
Sure.
of charge.
Yeah. Well, we certainly weren't doing benefits with the NRA. That's, but no, the Free Press goes way back to
But you did do one of them, as I recall, on the death penalty.
Yes, and I was interviewed
Made news.
yes, down in Cincinnati, and the guy lied and said he wouldn't say anything against us, but of course he did. Fake news, fake news. At any rate, we're wrapping up the news here on this other side of the news.
Brought to you in part by people like Train DePriest,
And the Columbus Free Press.
supporting the cooperative project known as the Free Press.
So send some money both ways towards the radio stations and towards the Columbus Free Press through Patreon. All right? And we'd appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh, Lord, yeah.